The Commando class in Killing Floor 3 is something that's pretty unique within itself. And one of those unique things being that you are able to see cloakers, which are Zeds that turn invisible. Which, by the way, I believe came out as a brand new update that cloakers are now in the game, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Commando is a unique class in itself, not just because he can see cloakers, but also because of the different variety of guns that he brings to the table. A good majority of these guns being assault rifles. And then the Commando class actually has a special gun that is at the bottom, which you see on camera here, which is the LMG or light machine gun that he offers. And it's actually pretty cool. I find it to be one of my favorite weapons. Before I get into which weapon is my favorite, though, we have to start at the beginning, and that is what Commando is and what he does. As I mentioned a little bit ago, Commando brings a whole variety of different assault rifles, and then at the bottom the LMG, which is the Knight's Bridge at the end of the weapon selection there. But we're going to be going in order, one at a time, each different weapon, and how each weapon feels, operates, and whether or not it is a 10 out of 10, or if it's just as bad as that flamethrower that I talked about in the last video. The first weapon that I'm going to talk about is the X295 Wraith, or for short, I'm just going to call it the Wraith. The Wraith is the very first assault rifle that you spawn in with the Commando class. Wraith, being a starter assault rifle, actually has some pretty good damage. The Wraith is a pretty reliable assault rifle when it comes to damage and ammunition, with a 30-round magazine and pretty high damage with 300 extra ammunition in the reserve. It's a fairly reliable rifle that can get you through the first 3 to 4 rounds very easily. It's very reliant, and it definitely gets you from point A to point B pretty easily. Over time, though, the damage does drop off just a little bit with there being a lot of Zeds and with their health starting to grow ever so significantly. So, giving this rifle a fair rating for its reliability and versatility, I'd have to give it at least a 6, 7 out of 10. It would be an 8 or 9 if the damage was just a little higher, but for it being a starting rifle as it is, I think at highest a 7 is pretty good for it. The next rifle on the list that we're going to be talking about is the Storm Guard. Storm Guard itself is an alright rifle. It's not bad, but I do have a little bit of a personal problem with this rifle, and that being the damage is not as strong as I want it to be. For it being the second rifle in the class, you'd think that it would have a little more damage, but from using this weapon over and over again, I actually find myself skipping over it pretty often. And that's mainly because I feel like this rifle, despite having 40 bullets in a magazine with an over 500 reserve, it's pretty weak. Like, I just don't like it as much as the starting rifle. The damage to kill Zeds, unless you're getting a bunch of headshots, is pretty minimal. Like, it does not give you, like, that satisfying, I'm going to shred everything with its 40 bullets. The rifle itself, like I said, is not that bad, but it could absolutely be improved. I'd say either decrease the ammo count to 30-35 a magazine and increase the damage, or increase the ammunition within it so that way it can just keep dealing out bullets and keep the damage as is. I don't know, those are just my thoughts about it. Comment down below what you think should happen with this rifle, but as a personal rating, I give it at least maybe a 4 or 5 out of 10. The third gun that we're going to talk about is the MKR 350. Now, the MKR is actually my top 3 favorite assault rifles so far. Definitely not like the top 2 or 1 rifle that I would highly recommend using. But for its ammo count and the damage that it puts out, I do recommend getting this gun as soon as you can afford it. The damage is pretty damn good. The 30 round magazine that it offers with the over 400 reserve, it's pretty good. It's pretty reliable. It's definitely one of those rifles that you can very easily shred through at least 4, maybe all 5 waves. Definitely something that I would say get as fast as you can. The only issue that I have with this gun is it runs out of ammo a little too quick. Like, the fire rate on this gun is a little too fast for me. But as you see here in this video with the dual mag, the reload speed does complement it pretty well. But if I was to rate this gun with the flaw of the faster fire rate, I would have to give it at least an 8. I mean, that seems pretty reasonable for the fire rate being so low. Otherwise, this is a pretty damn good gun, and like I said, I highly recommend getting it as soon as you can. The next rifle that I'm going to be talking about is actually my personal favorite. If I am not using the LMG or the AK, I am most certainly using this rifle for sure. The Scar EIR. The Scar is, like I said, my personal favorite rifle. The damage output is insanely good for a 20-25 round magazine. It just shreds through Zeds like nothing. Of course, the ammo is quite low, so you are dealing with a constant Call of Duty reload curse. That's basically the only flaw that I can think of for this gun. Very little ammo for the damage input that this gun has, but I honestly would take that and use this just because the damage is so good, and I feel like I can just shred through Zeds before the ammo is even like close to 5 bullets. It kills bloaters very easily, Skrakes and flesh pounders. They are also pretty easy to handle with this rifle too. It does definitely take them a bit longer because they are a more higher health enemy, but overall, this gun personally I have to give a 9 out of 10. If the ammunition was just bumped up or increased to at least 30-35 bullets a magazine, then you know what? This would be a perfect 10 out of 10 rifle for me. So before I actually get to the last primary of the Commando set, I actually want to talk about the Bloodhound P330. The Bloodhound pistol is actually pretty damn good. Not as good as the revolver on Firebug, I will say that. The damage output is significantly noticeable, but for a 10 round pistol with 100 bullets in the reserve, it's actually not that bad. I definitely would not be using this as often as I would, say, the Firebug's revolver, but overall, I would give this pistol a 6 or 5 out of 10. If the damage was a little better with this pistol, then perhaps I would give it a higher rating, but for now, I'm just going to leave it as a 5-6 out of 10. And finally, the last primary that is in the collection of Commando's kit, we have the Knightsbridge LMG. The Knightsbridge is my personal favorite gun, just next to the last rifle that I talked about. It's very reliable, 60 rounds in one magazine, and then a reserve of 800, 900 bullets. It's definitely a very reliable gun. Shreds through Zeds like it's nothing. Flesh pounds and Skrakes. Definitely have a fun time with this LMG. But I will say, despite how good this LMG is, the ammunition just gets drained from this. It's not the absolute best LMG there is. And of course, with the add of mods being in this game, you can most certainly fix the ammunition problem. But with how quickly this drains, honestly, it's not too useful in a lot of situations, but it definitely does shred through Zeds like they're paper. And so for that, I'm going to give this weapon a maybe 7 out of 10 just because of the fire rate and how quick it drains through 60 bullets like it's nothing. But other than that, another one of my personal favorite rifles, at least top 2, and that is all the weapons that are in the Commando collection. Now, for the remaining duration of this video, I'm going to talk about what Commando's gadgets are and what they do. I did skip over them intentionally because I wanted to just talk about the weapons first, unlike Firebug, how I talked a little bit about his wildfire and Molotov cocktails. Commando has his own set of grenades, which are pretty much your basic hand grenade. You know, when you throw them, they have a set timer, then they explode. And his gadget is a miniature drone that shoots out. I'm still a little confused what it shoots out, but it's like this acid missile that it fires out all the Zeds. There's, I think, 10 to 15 shots that it shoots out. And the explosion radius on that drone or the missiles that it shoots out is pretty good. You are able to upgrade it in the skills to be a bit better. But that is a really fun gadget that I enjoy playing around with. Kind of like Wildfire, it'll shred through all the Zeds pretty easily, but instead of being able to give you health back, it just clears out several Zeds at a time and is a really good crowd control gadget, missile, launcher, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that is the Commando. That is all of his weapons and gadgets. If you find yourself playing Commando a lot and you really enjoy his weapons, I highly recommend leveling up as far as you can and playing in teams with him. But yeah, other than that, that is Commando in a nutshell. Hope you all did enjoy the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.